My own flesh and blood looked me in the eye and said, "You're nothing but a burden who can't face reality," as if 40 years of raising him had earned me nothing but contempt. Eric had orchestrated every detail of what he thought would be my downfall: the staged competency evaluation, the unlicensed renovation estimates, even the secret emails to his competitors offering my house at below-market prices. But while he was busy writing my obituary, I was busy writing his eviction notice. The agricultural preservation easement I'd quietly filed came with tax benefits that made his staging expenses look like pocket change. And the cottage construction loan? It was already approved by the same county that would be investigating his permit violations. Blood may be thicker than water, but legal documents are thicker than both. Before I unlock the next scene, drop an encouraging message for the father I might pin the best one. I set the blue enamel kettle on the cast-iron stove and heard tires grind up the crushed stone drive. 2 black SUVs slid into the yard like they owned the route. Plastic bins, neatly labeled office, staging, kitchen refresh, stacked on my porch. 76 years teaches you to read arrivals. This one smells like a takeover. The door swung wide. Eric, my son, 42, a real estate broker who wears success like armor, stepped in first. Behind him, Mia, my daughter-in-law, 40, laptop clutched like battle plans, set a citrus diffuser on the shelf. Lily, my granddaughter, 20, eyes sharp with worry, came last, steadying the framed orchard map when a bin bumped the wall. "Dad, stop what you're doing," Eric commanded, dropping keys on my table. "We're handling this now. Router here, camera there, smart lock this afternoon. You can remember a PIN, right? Or should I program it to something simple?" "I'm making tea," I said. The scent of applewood from my old stove met artificial orange oil, 2 different worlds refusing to blend. He's already moved me out in his mind. Eric yanked open the closet under the stairs. "Basement's got room for your stuff. You're moving downstairs."
"These stairs are too steep for someone your age. The basement's damp." "Jesus, Dad!" Eric's voice went sharp. "Look around. You're living on what, Social Security and whatever's left in savings? You think you have options here?" He gestured at the room like it was evidence in a trial. "I'm offering you a solution. We sell this place, get you into assisted living with the proceeds. You'll have care, meals, activities. Better than sitting here alone counting pennies." There it is. He thinks I'm broke. "I'm not alone," I said quietly. "You're broke, Dad. Don't pretend otherwise." Eric's tone turned patronizing, the voice he probably used on first-time buyers who couldn't afford the neighborhoods they wanted. "Your heating bills last winter. I saw them when I helped with your taxes. The roof needs work. The foundation's settling. You can't afford to maintain this place." Mia looked up from her laptop. "We're trying to help before things get worse." "Exactly." Eric planted himself in front of me. "So here's how this works. You move downstairs temporarily, we stage the house, get it market ready. You sign the listing agreement, and we handle everything else. Clean, simple, profitable for everyone." "Everyone," meaning him. "And if I don't?" Eric's smile went cold. "Dad, you're 76, living alone in a house that's falling apart, on a fixed income that barely covers utilities. If you fight this, I'll have to ask the court to evaluate your capacity to make financial decisions. Is that what you want? A competency hearing? Social workers asking questions?" The threat wrapped in concern. Classic Eric. "You do that to your father?" "I do that for my father." He leaned forward. "Because unlike you, I understand reality. You're poor, Dad. Accept it. Let people who actually know about money handle this." The kettle began its quiet murmur. Lily turned from the orchard map, her face pale. "Dad, stop," she said to Eric, voice barely above a whisper. Eric flicked his hand at her. "Stay out of adult conversations, Lily. Your grandfather needs to hear the truth." The truth. His version of it. I pulled out a chair and sat down. "I'll think about it." "Think fast," Eric said. "Contractor's coming at 4 to measure the kitchen. Market's hot right now, but that won't last. We need to move before winter."
I walked to my small side table and picked up the garage key I'd filed myself years ago. The nick in the blade caught the light, a tiny crescent that told a story only I remembered. Lily's eyes followed the key to the drawer below, the one hiding a sealed manila envelope. Some secrets are worth keeping. This one's about to earn its keep. "Grandpa," Lily whispered. "Tonight," I told her. "Not yet." Eric clapped twice. "Great. Dad, start packing what you want to keep. Everything else gets donated or trashed." I looked at him and let silence fill the space between us. It had weight. His confidence flickered. Every house has its secrets. Time to wake mine up. The kettle whistled. I poured tea and cracked the sticky drawer just enough to see the envelope's corner. Outside, the wind changed direction. The next morning, I sat at my small desk overlooking the lake. The surface lay flat as hammered steel, no wind to trouble it. I opened the sticky drawer and pulled out the manila envelope, 40 years of careful paperwork, waiting for its moment. Papers breathe when you know how to listen. This one's been holding its breath. I dialed Grant Miller, the title officer who'd helped me refinance the kitchen 3 years back. A steady man who believes dates matter more than feelings. "Grant, it's Adam Knox. I need to verify some documents." "Ben, good to hear from you. What can I check?" "Transfer on death deed, living trust. I want to confirm who's listed as successor trustee." Keys clicked on his end. "Give me a minute." "Okay, here we are. Property at 847 Lakeshore Drive. Transfer on death deed recorded. Beneficiary is the Knox Family Living Trust. You're the current trustee." And more clicking. "Successor trustee is listed as Lily Knox, your granddaughter." There it is, the foundation they don't know exists. "Email me a copy of both documents," I said. "Sure thing. Anything else I should know?" I watched Eric through the window, pacing the deck with his phone pressed to his ear, gesturing like he was closing a deal. "Just making sure my house knows who it belongs to." Lily appeared in the doorway, coffee mug in hand. She'd been awake early. I'd heard her moving around upstairs, probably listening to Eric's morning calls about market timing and optimal pricing. After I hung up, she sat across from me. "What's in the envelope, Grandpa?" "Insurance," I said, sliding the papers toward her. "Your grandmother and I set up a trust years ago. If something happens to me, you become the trustee. That means you control the house, not your father." Her eyes widened. "Dad doesn't know?" "Your father knows what he wanted to know. He assumed the house would pass to him automatically. He never asked about trusts or transfer deeds." Assumptions are expensive. Eric's about to learn that. My computer chimed. Grant's email arrived with 2 PDF attachments. I printed both copies and handed them to Lily. "Can you scan these and save them in 3 different places?" She nodded, already reaching for her phone. "Cloud storage, email, and USB drive?" "Smart girl. Also make a timeline. Who said what, when, where, dates, and witnesses. If this gets messy, we'll need documentation. Every good defense starts with good records." While Lily worked, I pulled out my phone and scrolled to a contact I'd saved months ago but never called, June Park, Director of Agricultural Conservation. I'd met her at a county meeting about farmland preservation. Sharp woman who understood that land has memory. I typed carefully. "Mrs. Park, this is Adam Knox from the orchard discussion. I need to meet tomorrow morning about conservation options for my property. Are you available?" Time to call in someone who knows the difference between development and destruction. Her response came back within minutes. "Yes, my office, 9 a.m. Bring your deed." I showed Lily the text exchange. "Tomorrow, we start building our own plan." She looked up from the scanner, a small smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "What kind of plan?" "The kind that teaches your father the difference between owning and assuming." Outside, Eric ended his call and headed toward the house, probably ready to discuss next steps in his takeover. I folded the papers back into the envelope. Let him think he's winning. The best moves happen when your opponent isn't watching. The next afternoon, a white sedan pulled into the drive.
Rosa Molina, a home health nurse in her 30s, clipboard in hand, eyes that had seen families at their worst, knocked twice and waited. Eric answered before I could reach the door. "You must be the assessment nurse. I'm Eric Knox, his son. I handle Dad's medical appointments." Handle? Like I'm a problem to be managed. "Mr. Knox," Rosa said, extending her hand to me, not Eric. "I'm here to evaluate your daily living capabilities." "Of course," I gestured toward the living room. "Would you like coffee?" Eric stepped closer. "Before you start, you should know Dad gets confused at night, forgets to turn off the stove, misplaces his medication. That's why we're looking at care facilities." Rosa's pen stopped moving. "Mr. Knox, I'll need to speak with your father privately. It's standard protocol." "I'm just trying to give you context." "Privately," Rosa repeated, her voice professional steel. "She's done this dance before." Eric's jaw tightened, but he backed toward the kitchen. "I'll be right here if you need clarification on anything." Rosa waited until his footsteps faded, then sat across from me. "Mr.
Knox, what's today's date?" "October 15th, 2024, Tuesday." "Who's the current president?" I answered. She asked me to count backward from 100 by sevens. I did. She handed me my pill organizer and asked me to read the labels and explain when I take each medication. Morning blood pressure pill with breakfast. Evening cholesterol medication with dinner. Vitamin D once daily. I set the organizer down. I've been taking the same routine for 3 years. Simple questions, but they carry weight in courtrooms. "Tell me about a time you forgot something important." I smiled. "Last month, I forgot to turn off the sprinkler, flooded the herb garden. My late wife would have reminded me she had a better memory for those things." Rosa made notes. "Do you drive?" "Local errands. I know my limits." "Cook for yourself?" "Every day. Nothing fancy, but I haven't poisoned myself yet." From the kitchen came the sound of Eric's voice, low and urgent, probably on the phone with Mia about how it's going. "He's nervous." "Good." Rosa leaned forward slightly. "Has anyone pressured you to move or change your living situation?" I met her eyes. "My son believes I'd be safer in assisted living. He's concerned about my finances and the house maintenance." "And how do you feel about that?" "I feel like a man who's lived independently for 76 years and plans to continue." She wrote something down and closed her folder. "Mr. Knox, based on this assessment, you're oriented to time and place, you demonstrate clear judgment, and you're managing your activities of daily living independently. The words that matter, the ones that go in official reports. I'll send my evaluation to your primary care physician and provide you with a copy. You should receive it within 48 hours. Eric reappeared as she gathered her things. "So, how did he do?" Rosa stood, professional and final. "I don't discuss evaluations with family members. Mr. Knox will receive his results directly." After she left, Eric stared at me like I'd cheated on a test. "What did you tell her?" "The truth," I said. "That's usually enough." My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Lakeside Manor Welcome Hour, Saturday 4 p.m. Light refreshments provided." The next piece of their plan, right on schedule. I showed the text to Lily, who'd been watching from the stairs. Her eyes widened. "Saturday," I said quietly, "we'll be ready." The next morning, I drove to the County Agricultural Conservation Office. June Park, a woman in her late 30s with steel-gray hair and eyes that had seen too many family farms sold to developers, greeted me with a firm handshake. "Mr. Knox, you mentioned conservation options." I spread the deed and trust documents on her desk. "My son wants to sell my lakefront house. He thinks I'm broke and need assisted living." June studied the papers, her finger tracing property lines. "Transfer on death deed, living trust with your granddaughter as successor. Your son doesn't control this property." "No, but he's making life difficult." She's reading between the lines, smart woman. "What's your goal here, Adam?" "I want to keep living on my land, but not necessarily in that house." June leaned back in her chair. "Tell me about your orchard."
60 acres, apple trees, mostly heritage varieties. Small cider operation, nothing fancy, but steady contracts with local retailers. Her eyes lit up. Revenue-generating agriculture, that changes things. She pulled out a county map. Your orchard qualifies for agricultural preservation easement.
Tax benefits, development restrictions, and, she tapped the map, eligibility for our Senior Farmer Housing Assistance Program. Now we're talking, what kind of assistance? We help fund accessory dwelling units for aging farmers who want to stay on their land. Small, efficient homes designed for aging in place. She made a note. If you sold the lakefront house to a conservation-minded buyer, they could fund an ADU construction as part of the purchase agreement. Lily, who'd been quietly listening, spoke up. Like a rider in the contract? Exactly. Buyer agrees to fund ADU construction within 90 days of closing. You get a life lease on the ADU, they get the main house. Everyone wins. Except Eric. He gets a lesson in assumptions. Do you know conservation buyers? June smiled. I know one who's been looking for lakefront property with agricultural potential. Someone who values land stewardship over quick profit. Would they work with these terms? Let me make a call. She reached for her phone. But first, are you sure about this?
Once we start this process, your son won't be able to stop it. I thought about Eric's voice yesterday. You're broke, Dad. Accept it. I'm not looking for revenge, I said. I'm looking for correction. The difference between punishment and balance. Margaret would approve. June dialed a number. Carter, it's June Park. I have a unique opportunity. Lakefront with agricultural component. Conservation-minded seller. Yes, with conditions. She hung up after 5 minutes. He's interested, very interested. Can you meet Saturday? I'll be at a welcome hour for an assisted living facility. June raised an eyebrow. Perfect. Nothing like a public venue to make a private point. Cole Evans, a quiet architect in his 40s who specialized in sustainable ADUs, appeared in the doorway. June, you called about housing plans? Cole, meet Adam Knox. He may need an orchard cottage designed for dignity. Cole shook my hand. I like building homes that let people age in place. When do we start? When indeed. Saturday, I said. We start Saturday. Outside, storm clouds gathered over the lake. By evening, they'd bring the kind of rain that washes things clean. Thursday afternoon, a white pickup truck pulled into the drive. A man in his 40s, work boots, measuring tape clipped to his belt, the confident stride of someone who'd done 1,000 kitchen estimates, knocked on the door. Eric answered with his salesman smile. You must be from Riverside Renovations. Right on time. That's me, Dave Morrison, here to measure the kitchen for staging updates. No company logo on the truck. Interesting. I stepped into the kitchen as Dave unfolded his tape measure. Excuse me, I said, do you have a permit for this work? Dave glanced at Eric, then back at me. Well, we're just doing measurements today. Permits come later, depending on scope. What scope are we talking about? Eric moved between us. Dad, let the professional work. We're just exploring options. Professional without paperwork. Classic Eric shortcut. I'm asking about permits, I said, keeping my voice level. Any work in this kitchen requires county approval. Dave shifted his weight. Look, sir, I'm just here to measure. Your son called about some cosmetic updates, maybe new countertops, cabinet refinishing. Nothing structural. Cosmetic updates for a house that's about to be sold? Eric's face tightened. Dad, can you shut up for once? Let people who actually understand construction handle this. You don't know the first thing about renovation or resale value. There's the real Eric again. I know about permits, I said, and I know this county requires them for any work over $500. Dave looked uncomfortable. Maybe I should come back when you folks have sorted out the details. No need, Eric said quickly. Dad's just being difficult. He doesn't understand that we're trying to help him maximize his investment. Whose investment? I asked. Eric's voice went cold. Don't sabotage this, Dad. Don't wreck my plan with your paranoid nonsense. You want to stay poor? Fine, but don't drag the rest of us down with your stubbornness. Paranoid nonsense? That's what due diligence becomes when it threatens his timeline. I walked to the window and took out my phone. Dave's truck sat in my driveway. No business name, just a license plate. I snapped a photo and sent it to June with a message, "Unlicensed contractor at my house." Eric arranged it. Her response came back immediately. "Documented. Keep records." Dave packed up his tape measure. "You know what? Let me reschedule this. Give you folks time to work out the permits and approvals." "That's not necessary," Eric started. "It's fine," Dave said, heading for the door. "I'll call you next week." After he left, Eric turned on me. "Congratulations, Dad. You just cost us a week of prep time. The market won't wait for your permission slips." "Good contractors pull permits," I said. "Bad ones cut corners." "You don't know anything about business." Eric's voice cracked like a whip. "You've never owned anything worth selling. Stop pretending you understand real estate." Still thinks I'm broke. Still thinks he's in control. Mia appeared from the living room, laptop open. "I've rescheduled the photographer for next Tuesday. We'll work around this." My phone buzzed. A text from June. "Saturday at 4 p.m., Lakeside Manor. Our buyer will be there." Saturday. When Eric learns the difference between assumption and ownership. I looked at my son, still fuming by the door. "We'll see what next week brings," I said, but I was thinking about Saturday.
Friday morning, Lily knocked on my study door. "Grandpa, Mom went out but left her laptop on the dining table. Can I borrow it to print my assignment checklist? Mine's updating." "Go ahead, just be careful with it." Technology makes spies of us all. 10 minutes later, Lily appeared in my doorway, face pale, a piece of paper trembling in her hand. "Grandpa, you need to see this." She set the laptop on my desk, screen angled toward me. An email draft sat open in Mia's account, unsent but fully composed. To Bradley Chen, Chen & Associates Realty. Subject, confidential cash offer, 847 Lakeshore Drive. Brad, need quick turnaround on attached property. Motivated seller, elderly, financial pressure. Market analysis shows $680K, but owner will likely accept $620 for fast close. Can you connect with your cash buyers? Commission split as discussed. Property needs minor staging, but has strong bones. Prefer to keep this quiet from other brokers. Family situation requires discretion. Mia. There it is, the real plan. Lily's voice was barely a whisper. She's already shopping the house to Dad's biggest competitor. I stared at the screen. Bradley Chen ran the biggest competing brokerage in the county. Eric had lost 3 major listings to him last year and still complained about it at family dinners. "Screenshot this," I said quietly. Lily's fingers moved quickly across the trackpad. "Done. Should I forward it to myself?" "No, too risky. Just the screenshot." Evidence that won't show up in sent folders. I pulled out my phone and texted June. "Found something important. Can you meet in an hour?" Her response was immediate. "My office. Bring whatever you found." Lily closed the laptop carefully and moved it back to the dining table, positioning it exactly as Mia had left it. "They're planning to cut Dad out of his own commission?" "Looks that way. Your mother's playing a deeper game than your father realizes." Family loyalty has a price. Apparently, it's about $60,000. What do? We let them keep digging their hole. Saturday, when they think they're celebrating, we'll have all the pieces in place. Every good reversal needs perfect timing. As if summoned by our conversation, Mia's car pulled into the driveway. Lily quickly gathered her printed checklist and headed for the stairs. "Lily," Mia called from the entryway, "did you use my laptop?" "Just to print homework, Mom," Lily called back. "Thanks for letting me borrow it." "No problem. Oh, and wear something nice tomorrow afternoon. We're having a family celebration after the welcome hour." Celebration. They're already counting money they don't have. After Lily disappeared upstairs, I looked at the screenshot on my phone, Mia's email to Eric's biggest rival. Eric thinks his wife is loyal and his father is broke. He's about to learn he's wrong on both counts. I folded the screenshot and slipped it into the manila envelope with the rest of my insurance papers. Some secrets are worth keeping. This one was worth revealing. Outside, clouds gathered over the lake. By tomorrow afternoon, they'd bring the kind of storm that clears the air. Saturday, when assumptions meet reality. Saturday afternoon arrived with the kind of gray sky that makes promises it won't keep. Lakeside Manor sat on a hill overlooking the water, a building designed to look homey while feeling institutional. The lobby smelled like vanilla air freshener and resignation. Eric straightened his tie as we walked through the automatic doors. "Remember, Dad, this is just a tour. No pressure. We're exploring options." Options, his favorite word when he means decisions. A woman in a navy blazer approached with a clipboard and practiced smile. "You must be the Knox family. I'm Jennifer, the Community Relations Coordinator. We're so excited to show you what Lakeside Manor has to offer." The welcome hour was staged in a sun-filled room with round tables and artificial flowers. Residents sat scattered like props in a catalog, some engaged, others staring at nothing. A pianist played soft jazz that nobody seemed to hear. Eric transformed into his public persona, the devoted son making difficult choices. "Dad's been living alone since Mom passed," he told Jennifer, his voice carrying just the right note of concern. "We worry about his safety." "The house is too big, too many stairs." There's the performance. Academy Award for Best Supporting Hypocrite. "Of course," Jennifer nodded. "Many families face these transitions. The important thing is finding the right fit." Mia appeared at Eric's elbow with a small plate of cheese and crackers. "Adam, you should try these. The food here is really quite good." "I'm sure it is," I said, not moving toward the refreshment table. Eric leaned closer to Jennifer, lowering his voice, but not enough. "Dad gets confused sometimes. Forgets to eat, leaves the stove on. He needs structure now, people who understand his limitations." Limitations. Yesterday I was broke. Today I'm incompetent. Tomorrow I'll be what? Invisible? Lily stood near the window, arms crossed, watching her father perform. Her jaw was tight, the way it gets when she's biting back words. "The beautiful thing about our community," Jennifer continued, "is that residents maintain their independence while having support when they need it." "Exactly what Dad needs," Eric said, putting his hand on my shoulder like we were posing for a family photo. "Someone to make sure he takes his medication, eats regular meals, has social interaction. He's been isolated too long." Isolated? Is that what they call a man who chooses his own company? I was about to respond when the automatic doors whispered open again. June Park walked in, wearing a charcoal suit and carrying a leather folder. Behind her, Grant Miller in his best Sunday clothes, looking slightly uncomfortable but determined. Eric's hand froze on my shoulder. "Dad, who were those people?" Jennifer looked confused. "Are they joining your family meeting?" June approached our table with the kind of confidence that comes from holding all the right cards. "Mr. Knox," she said, extending her hand to me, not Eric. "I hope we're not interrupting." Grant nodded politely. "Adam asked us to stop by." The cavalry has arrived. Eric's face went through several expressions: confusion, suspicion, then something approaching panic. "I'm sorry, but this is a private family consultation." "Is it?" June asked, her smile sharp as winter wind. Mia's cheese cracker stopped halfway to her mouth. Showtime. I stood up slowly, the way a man does when he's about to change the weather in a room. The manila envelope came out of my jacket, the one that had been waiting patiently for this moment. "Eric, Mia, I'd like you to meet June Park, Director of Agricultural Conservation, and Grant Miller from the County Title Office." Time to introduce the players Eric didn't know were in the game. Eric's salesman smile flickered like a bad connection. "I don't understand. This is a family meeting about Dad's care options." "Is it?" I opened the envelope and spread 3 documents on the table, because I think it's actually about who owns what. Jennifer, the Community Relations Coordinator, stepped back slightly. The other families in the room continued their conversations, oblivious to the small earthquake happening at our table. "This," I said, pointing to the first document, "is a transfer on death deed recorded 3 years ago. It transfers ownership of 847 Lakeshore Drive to the Knox Family Living Trust upon my death." Eric leaned forward, squinting at the paper.
Dad, what are you talking about? This, I continued, indicating the second document, is the living trust agreement. I'm the current trustee. Upon my death or incapacity, the successor trustee takes control. Grant cleared his throat. The successor trustee is listed as Lily Knox, your granddaughter. Watch Eric's face process that information. The color drained from Eric's cheeks. That can't be right. It's right, Grant said matter-of-factly. I verified it yesterday. Your father has sole authority over the property. You have no legal standing to sell it. Mia's cheese cracker crumbled in her fingers. But we've already started the staging process. We've contacted appraisers. You've wasted your time, June said calmly, and possibly violated several regulations regarding unlicensed renovation work. There's the contractor photo, doing its job. Eric's voice rose slightly. Dad, this is insane. You can't manage that house alone. You need care, supervision. According to whom? I pulled out the third document. This is my health assessment from Rosa Molina, registered nurse.
Conclusion: oriented, independent, capable of managing my own affairs. 3 pieces of paper, 40 years of careful planning. The automatic doors opened again, and a man in his late 50s walked in tall, gray-haired, wearing the kind of expensive casual clothes that whisper rather than shout. He scanned the room and approached our table. "Excuse me, are you Adam Knox?" "I am." He extended his hand. "Carter Hayes. June suggested I might find you here." The buyer. Right on schedule. Eric's eyes narrowed. "I'm sorry, who are you?" Carter smiled politely. "I'm interested in purchasing Mr. Knox's lakefront property. June tells me it has development potential for conservation-minded buyers." "Development potential?" Eric's voice cracked slightly. "I'm his son. I handle his real estate matters." "Actually," Carter said, his tone remaining pleasant, "I prefer to work directly with the property owner. I've learned it's more straightforward that way." Here comes the twist Eric won't see coming. Carter reached into his jacket and pulled out a business card. "I should mention, I've worked with your brokerage before. Several transactions, actually. You might know my primary agent Bradley Chen at Chen & Associates?" The name hit Eric like cold water. Eric's mouth opened, then closed. Bradley Chen? Excellent agent, very professional. He's handled 3 property purchases for me in the past 2 years. Carter looked genuinely puzzled. Didn't he mention we'd work together? I'm one of his larger clients. The client Eric's been trying to steal for months, sitting at his family meeting. Mia's face had gone white. Her hand trembled slightly as she reached for her water glass. "I only work with agents who respect property ownership," Carter continued. "Bradley's very good about verifying who actually has authority to sell. Translation, I don't work with people who try to sell houses they don't own." Eric looked like a man who just realized he'd been playing poker with marked cards, and he wasn't the one marking them. "Mr. Hayes," I said, standing, "would you be interested in discussing terms? I have some specific requirements for any sale." "Absolutely. I appreciate sellers who know what they want." Eric found his voice. "Dad, you can't just, we need to discuss." "We did discuss it," I said, calmly. "You told me I was broke, incompetent, and needed to do what you said. I listened. Then I made my own plans." The moment when assumptions meet reality. "Monday morning," I continued, looking at Carter, "Grant's office. We'll discuss the details." Mia's water glass slipped from her fingers and shattered on the floor, the sound sharp as breaking promises. Sometimes the truth makes noise when it lands. Monday morning brought the kind of clarity that comes after storms. Grant's title office felt smaller with 5 people crowded around the conference table, documents spread like battle plans. Carter Hayes sat across from me, reading the purchase agreement with the careful attention of a man who'd done this before. $680 cash, 30-day close. The rider's interesting. ADU construction funded by buyer, life lease for seller.
Poetry and legal language, Margaret would approve. I've handled conservation sales, Carter said, signing with a gold pen. Land deserves better than quick flips. June opened her agricultural preservation folder. Counties already approved the easement. Tax benefits start immediately. Every piece clicking into place. At 10:20, Eric and Mia arrived looking like they'd spent the weekend in different corners. Eric wore his power suit, the one for million-dollar closings. Today, it just made him look desperate. "Dad, this is insane," Eric said, not sitting. "You're selling to spite us." "I'm selling because I choose to," I replied. "Big difference." Grant gestured to empty chairs. "Please, we have signatures to collect." Mia perched like she might run. "Adam, maybe we should get independent legal advice." "I have advice. Grant's been doing property law since before you met my son." Eric's voice rose. "That house is worth more. I could get $750 with proper marketing." "To Bradley Chen's clients?" I asked quietly. Time for the email to do its work. Eric froze. Mia went pale. June slid the screenshot across polished wood. "Your wife's been busy." Mia stared at her own words. The secret email to Eric's competitor, the commission split, the plan to cut her husband out. "How did you get this?" "Laptops remember everything," I said, "especially when you forget to log out." Lily's discovery, perfectly timed. Carter looked confused. "Is there a conflict here? I prefer clean deals." "No conflict. I own it. I'm selling it." Grant produced Lily's inventory, 3 pages of careful handwriting. Personal property list. What stays with the seller, what goes with the house, what current occupants remove. Eric scanned it, face darkening. "This is everything. You're taking everything." "I'm taking what's mine."
You keep what you brought. "Don't do this, Dad," Eric's voice cracked. "Don't throw family away over money." "I'm not throwing anyone away. I'm drawing lines. Boundaries aren't walls. They're property markers. Don't force your family into the street," Eric continued, desperation creeping in. "We have nowhere to go. You're making us homeless over your stubborn pride. You have jobs, credit, options. Use them." Grant placed signature pages before Eric and Mia. 30-day vacation notice and property acknowledgement. 30 days, Mia whispered. "Standard for transfers. You'll vacate by November 15th and return all keys." Eric's pen trembled over the line. "Dad, please, think about your grandchildren. Think about family." "I am thinking about family. I'm thinking about the granddaughter who helped me discover your wife's email to my competitors." The truth, sharp as November wind. Eric signed with angry slashes. Mia's signature looked like it was bleeding. Grant applied his notary seal, a solid thunk that meant business. Then he lifted the county recorder's stamp, the one that makes things permanent. This officially transfers ownership and establishes the 30-day notice. The moment when papers become power. The stamp came down hard, recorded, ink black as final judgment. Carter stood, extending his hand. Pleasure working with someone who knows what he wants. Through the window, November wind scattered leaves across the parking lot like abandoned plans. Eric and Mia walked to their car without speaking, shoulders bent like people carrying invisible weight. Some storms clear the air, others just move the debris. Grant handed me my copies: deed, rider, inventory, vacation notice. ADU construction starts next week. Cole's already pulled permits. Outside, the sky was the color of clean slate, ready for whatever came next. The old cider house held secrets in its weathered bones, oak barrels that remembered decades of harvest, copper pipes that sang with fermentation, and the sweet ghost of apples that had surrendered their essence to time. This afternoon, those secrets would finally speak. Rebecca Sloan arrived precisely at 2, her leather portfolio crisp against the rustic backdrop. A woman who turned numbers into poetry, she understood that some contracts deserved ceremony. Adam, ready to make this official? 3 years of quiet prosperity, about to become loud truth.
She spread renewal papers across the scarred wooden table where my grandfather once sorted apples by hand. Lily perched nearby, pen ready, while June examined the fermentation tanks like she was reading their copper memories. "Let's confirm the numbers," Rebecca said, her voice carrying the satisfaction of good business. Heritage Cider Blend, we're increasing to 400 cases monthly. Premium pricing holds at $38 per case. Mathematics don't lie, unlike assumptions. Seasonal varieties add another 400 cases during peak months.
Your cranberry apples become our best seller. She pulled out her calculator with the flourish of a magician revealing the final trick. Base contract plus seasonals, you're looking at roughly 170,000 annually. The number hung in the air like smoke from a well-tended fire. 170,000. Eric's broke old man just became a small business owner. Through the window, I caught the flash of Eric's BMW pulling up behind Rebecca's sedan. He and Mia sat motionless, probably debating whether curiosity outweighed dignity. Perfect timing for an education. "The preservation easement helps our marketing," Rebecca continued, nodding to June. "Heritage orchard, family-owned, conservation protected, customers pay premium for that story." The door creaked on its ancient hinges. Eric and Mia stepped inside, trying to project casual interest while their eyes devoured every detail. "Easement?" Eric's voice carried forced lightness. June straightened from the tanks. "Agricultural preservation. Your father enrolled 60 acres last month. Tax benefits, development restrictions, guaranteed farming use in perpetuity." Watch their mental calculations crumble.
"Dad," Eric said carefully, "you never mentioned business contracts." "You never asked about business. You asked about heating bills and Social Security. The difference between income and assets. Class is in session." Rebecca glanced between us, sensing undercurrents. "Should I reschedule?" "No," I said firmly. "Some conversations need witnesses." The contract pages rustled as I signed monthly minimums, seasonal bonuses, quality guarantees. Everything Eric had assumed didn't exist, written in black ink on white paper. Rebecca countersigned with professional satisfaction. "Pleasure doing business. Your cider built us a loyal following." After she left, silence filled the cider house like morning fog. Eric stared at the contract copy in my hands as if it were written in ancient hieroglyphs. 170,000? Mia whispered. "You make 170,000 a year?" "Good years, yes. Bad years, less. That's farming." Not wealthy, not poor, just careful with truth. Lily closed her notebook and slipped the new contract into our growing file. Apples don't lie, Grandpa. Unlike people, unlike assumptions. Unlike children who think they know their parents' worth, Eric and Mia retreated to their car without another word. Through the dusty window, I watched them sit in stunned silence, probably recalculating every conversation we'd had about money, care, and capability. The afternoon light slanted golden through the cider house, illuminating dust motes that danced like tiny celebrations. Somewhere in the oak barrels, next year's harvest was already dreaming of its transformation. Some truths ferment slowly, others pour clear and strong when the time comes. The copper pipes hummed their ancient song, and the numbers on the contract didn't change, no matter how hard Eric might wish them away. Dawn broke over the orchard like a promise kept. The apple trees stood in neat rows, their branches heavy with the last fruit of the season, while morning mist rose from the grass like the earth's own breath. Today, we would plant something new in soil that remembered generations. Cole Evans arrived at 7 sharp, his truck loaded with surveying equipment and the quiet confidence of a man who'd built homes that lasted. Behind him, a crew of 3 carpenters who understood that some projects carry more weight than their blueprints suggest. "Perfect morning for pouring foundation," Cole said, unloading his transit level. "Ground's firm, weather's clear." Foundation, the word that matters most. Lily appeared with 2 thermoses of coffee and a notebook she'd labeled ADU Construction Log. 20 years old and already understanding that documentation protects dreams. "Where exactly does it go, Grandpa?" I walked to the spot I'd chosen weeks ago, 50 yards from the main house, positioned to catch morning light but sheltered from winter wind by a stand of mature maples. Close enough to hear the lake, far enough to feel independent.
Cole set up his equipment with the precision of a surgeon. We'll square the corners first, then mark the footprint. 24 by 36 feet, small enough to feel cozy, large enough to live with dignity. Margaret's voice echoed across 40 years. Keep your corners, Walt. Corners need attention or they peel. The crew worked with the kind of rhythm that comes from building things together. Stakes driven into earth, string lines pulled taut, measurements checked and double-checked. Lily followed with her notebook, recording every dimension. "Why is squaring so important?" she asked Cole. "Because everything else depends on it," he replied, adjusting a corner stake. "You get the foundation wrong, the whole house fights itself for the rest of its life." Truth in construction, truth in families. By noon, the excavator had carved a precise rectangle in the earth. The hole looked impossibly small for what would become my future, but foundations always do. They hold more than they show. "Rebar goes in tomorrow," Cole told me, wiping his hands on a rag. "Concrete pour Friday if the weather holds. You'll have a solid base to build on." A solid base. Something Eric never bothered to check before assuming he could build on my life. Lily knelt beside the excavation, running her hand along the straight edge where earth met air. "It's like drawing a house in dirt." "Better than drawing," I said. "This one won't blow away." The crew packed their tools as afternoon shadows lengthened across the orchard. Apple branches swayed in the breeze, heavy with fruit that would soon become next year's cider. Everything in its season, everything in its time. Cole handed me a folder with permit copies and construction timeline. "Inspector comes Thursday to check the foundation. After that, we frame." Thursday, the day we start building up instead of digging down. As his truck disappeared down the drive, I stood alone in the orchard with Lily, looking at the precise rectangle that would become home. The evening air carried the scent of apples and possibility. "It's really happening," Lily said softly. "It is," I agreed. "Corners first. Everything else follows." Margaret would approve. We were keeping our corners. The refrigerator calendar had become a countdown, 18 days until November 15th. Eric and Mia moved through the house like people evacuating a disaster zone, their belongings sorted into boxes marked essential, storage, donate. Time makes priorities visible. Wednesday morning, I found Eric wrapping his sound system in bubble plastic with the desperate care of someone protecting the last valuable thing he owned. "Dad, we need more time," he said without looking up. 18 days isn't enough to find a place, arrange financing, coordinate movers. "The timeline was in the contract you signed." "I signed under the res." His voice cracked like thin ice. "You ambushed us with lawyers and documents we'd never seen." Ambush. That's what preparation becomes when you're caught unprepared. Lily appeared in the doorway with a laundry basket, pretending to sort clothes while actually listening. Smart girl, she knew some conversations needed witnesses. "Please, Dad, think about your grandchildren. You're making your own family homeless over pride." Eric's tone shifted to his salesman register, the voice he used on reluctant buyers. "You have jobs, credit, options. Use them. Our savings went into this house. Contractors, staging, marketing." His composure cracked completely. "You want us to beg? Fine, I'm begging. Give us 90 days. Begging, the last tool in a manipulator's kit. 30 days, as agreed. Eric's face flushed red. "You vindictive old man! You'd rather destroy your family than admit you're wrong? This is about your ego, isn't it? About proving you still have power?" Vindictive, ego, power. The words people use when accountability feels like punishment. This is about ownership, about the difference between asking and taking. "What's the difference?" Eric laughed bitterly. "You're kicking your son out of his childhood home." Your childhood home, not your adult inheritance. The distinction that changes everything.
Mia emerged from the kitchen carrying dishes, her face carefully neutral. Eric, let it go. We'll manage. No, we won't manage. Eric wheeled on her. We're homeless because Dad wants to play legal games. Lily set down her basket. Dad, stop yelling. Don't tell me to stop. This is adult business. Eric's temples showed veins. Your grandfather is destroying this family over money. There's the real Eric when the mask slips. I'm not destroying anything. I'm protecting what's mine. What was yours? You sold it, remember? To spite your own family. I sold it to live on my terms. Terms, conditions, the architecture of dignity. Lily stepped between us, voice steady as granite. The inventory's almost done. 3 more boxes, then we can do the first walkthrough. Eric stared at his daughter like she'd committed treason. You're helping him against us? I'm helping Grandpa keep what belongs to him. 20 years old and already understanding that loyalty isn't automatic. Eric grabbed his jacket, face twisted with rage. Fine, you want us gone? We'll be gone. But don't expect holiday visits or birthday calls. You're choosing property over people. I'm choosing honesty over manipulation. The difference between consequences and cruelty. He slammed the door hard enough to rattle windows. Mia continued packing as if nothing had happened, years of practice managing Eric's tantrums. Lily handed me the inventory clipboard.
First section complete. I signed with steady hands despite the morning storm. Some weather passes, some just moves to different systems. Outside, November wind stripped the maples bare, leaving branches honest against gray sky. Midnight found me at the kitchen table, trust amendment forms spread under the pendant light like surgical instruments. The language was clinical. Removing Eric Knox's beneficiary and successor trustee required only signatures and witnesses. Some corrections demand permanent ink. Lily appeared at 11:30, barefoot and an oversized sweatshirt. Couldn't sleep? Just finishing business. She read over my shoulder, understanding immediately. You're removing Dad completely. I'm correcting an error in judgment. Correction, the polite word for consequences earned. I signed with deliberate strokes, each letter a small act of independence. Lily witnessed, her 20-year-old signature surprisingly steady. This goes certified mail tomorrow, I said, sealing the envelope. Your father gets official notice that his inheritance was never guaranteed. Assumptions, the most expensive currency in family business. My phone erupted at 6:47 a.m., Eric's ringtone cutting through morning quiet like a chainsaw. You vindictive son of a bitch, he snarled without greeting. You actually did it.
Cut your own flesh and blood out of your will. Good morning, Eric. Don't give me that polite bullshit, you senile, spiteful old bastard. You think this is over? You think you can destroy your family and play hermit in your pathetic little shack? Senile, spiteful, bastard. The vocabulary of someone whose arguments have run dry. I can dispose of my assets as I choose. Your assets? You're a broke loser living on government handouts. You sold the only thing worth having to hurt your own son. Still believing his own fiction. Some people prefer comfortable lies. Eric, I earned $170,000 last year from cider sales. I'm not broke. Silence stretched like a held breath. Then, you're a lying piece of shit, a pathetic old fool who can't face reality. Pathetic, fool, shit. The escalation of someone watching his worldview crumble. I have Rosa's Competency Assessment, 3 years of tax returns, a recorded property transfer. Which part would you like to contest in court? I'll contest everything. His voice cracked with fury. I'll have you declared mentally incompetent. I'll prove that conservation bitch and your precious granddaughter are manipulating a confused old man. Bitch, the word that shows exactly who Eric really is. Bring your evidence, I'll bring mine. Evidence? You want evidence? Here's evidence. You're nothing. A nobody apple farmer who got lucky. You don't deserve respect, you don't deserve family, and you sure as hell don't deserve to die with dignity. Nothing, nobody, don't deserve dignity. The cruelest words a son can speak to his father. You worthless old shit, Eric continued, his voice rising to a scream. I hope you die alone in that cottage. I hope you rot there with nobody to find your corpse. Hope you die alone. Hope you rot. The moment when a relationship crosses into territory it can never return from. I hung up without a word. The kitchen returned to blessed silence, morning light streaming through windows that had weathered worse storms. Lily stood in the doorway, face pale. Did he just wish you dead? He did, and now we know exactly who we're dealing with. Some people reveal their character when they lose, others when they think they're winning. Eric managed both. My phone buzzed. You'll regret cutting me out, old man. I'll make sure you regret everything. I showed Lily the text. Screenshot this, add it to our documentation. Evidence. The difference between accusations and proof. She photographed the threat with steady hands. What now? Now we mail the amendment and finish the cottage. Eric can rage at lawyers if it helps him sleep. Some storms blow themselves out. Others just reveal the damage that was always there. I placed the certified mail envelope by the door. Outside, November morning was sharp and clear, the kind of weather that strips everything down to what actually matters. Truth, property, family worth keeping. 2 weeks later, the ADU rose from its foundation like a promise keeping itself. Cole's crew worked with the steady rhythm of craftsmen who understood that some buildings carry more than their own weight. This one held the future of a man who'd chosen independence over inheritance. Walls have a way of making intentions visible. The morning air carried the scent of fresh lumber and possibility as I watched the frame take shape. 2x10s and 2x6s joined at precise angles, creating the skeleton of what would become home. Foundation solid, Cole said, checking his level against a corner post. No settling, no shifting. This cottage will outlast the people who gouted it. Some foundations are built to last, others just to satisfy inspectors. Lily arrived with coffee and her construction log, now thick with daily entries. She documented every delivery, every measurement, every decision that transformed architectural drawings into actual rooms. The framing's beautiful, Grandpa. It looks like it belongs here. Belonging. The thing Eric never understood about property versus place. By noon, the roof trusses were in position, engineered lumber that would carry snow loads and summer storms with equal grace. I stood beneath them, looking up at the geometry of shelter, and felt something settle in my chest that had been restless for months. "Where do you want to sit?" Cole asked, gesturing toward the space that would become the front porch. "We need to position the door and windows around your preferred view." I walked to the spot where morning light would filter through apple branches, where the lake would be visible through gaps in the trees, where I could hear both water and wind without feeling exposed to either. "Here," I said, placing my hand on what would become the porch railing. "This is where I'll watch seasons change." Every man needs a place to watch time pass without counting it. Cole made notes on his tablet. "We'll frame the door 3 feet to the left, put a wide window on the lakeside. You'll have cross-ventilation and natural light without sacrificing privacy." The afternoon brought the satisfying percussion of hammers finding their mark, a steady rhythm that spoke of progress measured in inches and hours rather than months and anxiety. Building sounds different from breaking, more purposeful, more honest. Lily sat on a sawbuck, sketching the emerging structure in her notebook margins. "It's going to be perfect, isn't it?" I said, "That's better than perfect." Ownership trumps perfection every time. As the sun angled toward evening, Cole's crew secured the last roof truss and began laying plywood decking. The cottage had found its shape, modest but dignified, functional without being apologetic. "Inspector comes tomorrow morning," Cole announced, packing his tools. "Final framing check, then we can start siding and roofing." Tomorrow, when temporary becomes permanent. My phone buzzed with a text from Grant. "CO scheduled for next Friday. Bring your keys." Keys. the small metal proof that some plans worked exactly as intended. I looked at the cottage frame silhouetted against the orchard, its clean lines promising shelter that no one could take away. Home isn't where you're born, it's where you choose to stay. The apple trees whispered approval in the evening breeze, their branches heavy with the last fruit of a season that had delivered more than anyone expected.
Friday morning brought Luis Diaz from County Building in his white pickup, clipboard ready and the methodical air of someone whose signature carried legal weight. Final inspection for ADU permit 2024-1847, he announced. Let's see what we've built. The moment when construction becomes home. Cole met him at the cottage door, keys jingling with small victories. Everything's to code, electrical signed off, plumbing passed, structural engineer approved. Luis walked through with careful attention, testing outlets, checking the ADA bathroom with its walk-in shower, examining insulation that exceeded county standards. Every detail designed to let a 76-year-old man live independently without apology. Heating system? Mini-split heat pump, efficient, quiet, individually controlled. Control, what I'd been fighting for all along. After 40 minutes of methodical inspection, Luis returned to his truck and pulled out the certificate of occupancy, a single sheet transforming construction into legal residence. Congratulations, Mr. Knox, you're officially home. Home, the word that changes everything. Lily appeared with my blue enamel kettle and kitchen essentials.
First things first, Grandpa. We christen the stove. Rituals matter, especially ones that mark big changes. By afternoon, I'd moved what mattered, my reading chair, the small mail table, Margaret's framed photo that had watched over every kitchen I'd called home. My phone buzzed at 4:30. Eric, Dad, can we talk? Family dinner tonight? We need to work this out. Work this out. Language of someone who thinks this is still negotiable. I typed, no thank you. Another buzz from Mia. Adam, please, for the kids' sake, we can find common ground. Common ground, where manipulators meet their victims. Same response, no thank you. Polite, final, non-negotiable. Lily helped arrange my things, her movements reverent. It feels like home already, she said, hanging Margaret's apron by the window. Home. Not a house, cottage, or ADU. Home. As evening settled over the orchard, I placed the blue enamel kettle on my new stove, the same kettle that had started this journey weeks ago when Eric announced his plans for my life. The burner caught with a soft whoosh. The kettle began its patient work, heating water for tea in a kitchen that belonged only to me. Some circles close exactly where they should. My phone stayed silent, no more texts, no more demands, no more family meetings disguised as interventions. Just the quiet hum of appliances that answered only to me, and the gentle tap of apple branches against windows that framed my chosen view. Outside, November wind carried the scent of wood smoke and possibility. Inside, the kettle sang its first song in a kitchen where every decision was mine. Freedom sounds like boiling water when you've earned the right to hear it. The cottage settled around me like a well-fitted coat, and for the first time in months, I felt exactly where I belonged. Late afternoon painted the orchard in shades of amber and gold, November light filtering through apple branches heavy with the season's final harvest. I sat on the cottage porch, my porch, in the chair positioned exactly where morning would find me tomorrow and every day after. This is what choosing looks like. Lily emerged from the cottage carrying 2 steaming mugs, the blue enamel kettle having done its work in the kitchen that answered only to us. She settled into the second chair, the one Cole had positioned for conversations that mattered. "It's perfect, isn't it?" she said, gesturing toward the view that stretched from orchard to lake to the main house where Eric and Mia were presumably packing their final boxes. "It's mine," I said. "That's better than perfect." Ownership trumps perfection, always. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the lake catch the last light of day. Somewhere in the distance, a truck engine started, probably the moving van Eric had finally hired. Tomorrow, the 30-day notice would expire. Tomorrow, they'd be gone. "Grandpa," Lily said quietly, "do you think you'll ever forgive them?" The question I'd been expecting. The one that deserved an honest answer. "No," I said, "I won't forgive them. But I'm not carrying anger either. There's a difference." "What's the difference?" I sipped my tea, letting the warmth travel down to settle somewhere near my heart.
Forgiveness suggests they deserve another chance to hurt me. I'm not interested in giving them that chance. Boundaries aren't walls, they're property lines. But I'm keeping you, I continued, looking at her profile as she studied the lake. You chose honesty over family loyalty. You chose what was right over what was easy. She smiled, the kind of smile that starts small and grows until it changes everything around it. I chose you, Grandpa, because you taught me that dignity isn't negotiable. 20 years old and already understanding what some people never learn. The wind shifted, carrying the scent of ripe apples and the promise of tomorrow's cider pressing. Somewhere in the orchard, a cardinal called to its mate, the kind of sound that makes silence richer instead of breaking it. "What happens now?" Lily asked. "Now we live," I said. "We press apples, we sign contracts, we sit on this porch and watch seasons change. We build the kind of life that doesn't need anyone else's permission. Simple, honest, sufficient." My phone sat silent on the small table between us, no texts demanding explanations, no calls requiring justification, just the quiet hum of a life that belonged entirely to the person living it. The sun touched the horizon, painting the lake in shades of copper and gold. Apple branches swayed in the evening breeze, their leaves whispering secrets only the wind understood. This is what victory looks like. Not conquest, not revenge, just the quiet satisfaction of a man who kept his corners and built something that lasts. As darkness settled over the orchard, I raised my mug in a small salute to the cottage, the lake, and the granddaughter who'd helped me remember that some battles are worth fighting not because you want to win, but because you refuse to lose what matters. Home, family, dignity, the things worth keeping. Adam's journey teaches us that true power lies not in controlling circumstances, but in controlling our response to them. When his own son treated him like a burden, God gave him the grace to respond with strategic wisdom rather than reactive anger. The Lord blessed his careful preparation, turning every insult into evidence and every threat into motivation. In this collection of grandpa stories, we witness how the Almighty works through those who refuse to be victims of other people's greed. Adam's transformation from target to victor happened not through luck, but through faithful planning and divine guidance. Heaven sent him exactly the right allies: June with agricultural expertise, Cole with architectural vision, and most importantly, Lily with unwavering loyalty. These family stories reveal that our Creator honors those who honor themselves through principled action. Adam's apple trees weren't just crops, they were symbols of patient cultivation yielding sweet rewards. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to enable someone's worst behavior, even when that someone is family. The ultimate victory wasn't financial or legal, it was spiritual. Adam preserved not just his property, but his integrity while teaching his granddaughter that some battles are worth fighting because some things are worth protecting. What battles are you avoiding that might actually need to be fought? When has standing up for yourself felt like the hardest but most necessary choice? Share your wisdom below. Someone is struggling with this exact decision right now. If this story strengthened your resolve, pass it on to someone who needs that same strength today.